No earthquake shakes my ground. I will get through the night. Got the darkness inside. I am here to
Let's start off. We're going to talk about going back to 2020. So in, I guess, like May of 2020, so your drummer Marcus left the band. And then later in 2020, your guitarist Yoshi left the band. Was there a point in 2020 or around then where you thought that maybe it was time for the band to call it quits?
Yeah, of course, we considered it. But over the time of thinking it all through, like we were in the mid of recording an album or producing an album when Yoshi left. So the album was halfway done. So on the one side, we had this product which we were very proud of, which we had written and which we wanted to present to the world, of course. But on the other side, we had the problem that there were only two original members, the singer Nico and me, the former bassist of the band, bass player. We're in the band, and we were thinking about quitting it, but there was still so much potential, and Nico and me, decided to move on because it was we still had passion for the thing, we still wanted to put that record out, and I think that was the best decision we made in the last years to just keep moving, to just try to keep the band going. And we had the pleasure to get two new really good members in on the musical level, but also on the personal level. We really connect with the new drummer Silas and our new bass player Lasse. So we really considered it because right when Corona hit, we had to drop off of a national tour here in Germany. We were 3 shows in, and it really sucked to be honest, to not know what is coming, in the future. And even after that time, we made that decision. Even now, I sometimes reconsider that decision. And although sometimes it's hard because you don't get the live feedback when you play live, that your music is heard and that it's appreciated. Right now it's just numbers, and that sometimes it sucks big time. It's just you look at Spotify numbers and YouTube numbers, and you try to think if they are good or not, and you can just reevaluate that with numbers and not with the live feedback from fans. And sometimes you think about that, and if it's still worth the thing you're doing, worth your time and worth the work. But it's music, we can never quit sometimes, it's we're musicians.
I mean, if it's in you, it's in you. So that's something you talked about there was something I was thinking about, because obviously like with like Shorelines and Future Stories, those were pretty heavy records. And then Soulmade, I think you guys described it at the time as more of an alternative rock record. And so I was curious with Overdrive, obviously, like I've heard the record, it's a fantastic record, but it's much more back to the heavier side of the band. And I was curious if that was something that came after the two guys leaving, if they left because they didn't want to go back to doing the heavier stuff, if that change in direction kind of back to the heavier side of things had anything to do with those two guys leaving.
That's a really good question. I think it was a natural process. We started beginning writing the heavier stuff when the both of them were still in the band. And we had a talk about where the band is heading, or where our music career should be going style-wise. And it was very clear to us that we did an alternative rock record, which we always wanted to try. It was nothing about really trying to hit the mainstream, because that is very difficult to do. So that was never our main goal, but we wanted to do that. And after that, our focus was back on our metal roots and on our heavy roots, because we still had these channels where we could provide our music through. We were on a metal label, we had metal fans, you know, and it's easier to put out something where you have your channels. But we also wanted to do that because it lacked a bit of live energy to do alternative rock record. We tried to convey or to convert our music live, but it was difficult to perform to it, you know. It lacked a bit of energy or tempo sometimes, where you couldn't perform that well onto if you're coming from a hardcore metalcore background, you know. You're used to perform very with much energy live, and when you play a rock song live, it's like, okay, you can just stand there and, you know, play these chords and that's it, you know. And coming back to the question, on the one side, I think some of the guys sometimes didn't want to say that this was the best way to keep moving with the band, you know. It was just like they didn't feel like going back to a metal style, to a harder rock style was the thing to do with the band, you know. It was never about being famous or earning money from that or something. It was just that the boys who left were just a bit more further away from doing metal and rock than hardcore, you know. I think Hara, our drummer, was 34 at that moment, and he was going for another lifestyle too. He wanted to have a regular job and stuff. And when Yoshi left, of course, he said that on the one hand he couldn't stand behind what the music was all about, you know, but on the other hand, he had changed his personal life too. So it was not all about changing the music. It was with them leaving. It was too on a personal level, where they had outgrown being in a band, you know. And it's a mix of both, I guess. But it was natural, you know. It never felt like we should do another style of music to just keep them, you know. It wouldn't feel right then.
Of course. I think it's something that I'm surprised hasn't happened more, and I feel like maybe as more and more bands get back to touring again, that there's going to be more people who have spent like the last 10 or 20 years in bands touring, and that's been their lives, and then they spend like a year at home and they're like, shit, I do not want to sleep on another floor. I don't want to smell socks for 2 weeks, you know. I don't want to do it. And then there's other people obviously who are like, being at home drove me crazy and all I want to do is go back out and tour. But I feel like what you're saying is for those guys, you know, after spending time through lockdown at home, they realize, you know, I don't want to go back and live that life anymore, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I could feel that quite, like that fight in me too, the last 2 years. You know, one side was, okay, is it will it be ever the same again when it comes back for myself, you know? Like, I love touring, I love going on tours, going on festivals. On the side, I even do backline tech for other bands, you know. So I love being on the road, you know. But sometimes I ask myself if I would still enjoy that in the future, you know, after 2 years being home and enjoying the comfortness of being home, you know. Is like, okay, maybe that's a life I could consider living too here, just having a day job and stuff. But yeah, same here. I think you can't get the musician out of yourself, you know. It's like it's deep in yourself that you still love that, you know. And if it comes back, I will probably enjoy it, and it will go back to normal again. How long, I don't know, but
I read an interview with Patrick from Fit for an Autopsy, and he was talking about how like they're one of my favorite bands. I've seen him a ton of times, and like he always likes to spit water at the people in the front. So like I don't stand over there because I don't make a water spat on me. But he was talking about like, you know, because they just finished like a big tour in the US, and he's like, well, you know, I have to remember on this tour that I can't spit water at people. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of that, like, you know, kind of cautiousness when everything reopens, you know.
Yeah, but I think it will be just in the first couple of weeks or month, and I think people are good at forgetting. Sometimes, you know, it's on this side it's a good thing to fastly forget something, and yeah, I think that the people will enjoy everything soon again. Oh, even over here in Europe, you know, we're in the moment we're opening up again, you know, with England opening up. I think, yeah, the next 2 weeks fully, you know, fully capacity, everything. Germany is going there till end of March, you know, opening up live events and stuff to full capacity. And yeah, I hope that it will get back to normal very fast, and that the people will forget the last 2 years, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to like dwell on COVID for too long, but I've been out to like 2 shows recently. I went to see Obituary and I went to see Fit for an Autopsy, and like both of those shows were like completely sold out, full of people, and it was like nothing had ever happened. You know what I mean? Everybody was straight in there. And I've heard a lot of the bands saying as well that people, because everybody's been fucking stuck at home for 3 years, everyone's going fucking nuts at the shows, buying tons of merch. Like, it's been good, you know.
We had one show last year here in October, which is a local Hope Torn show for us. You know, there was just, I think, 700 people, which was pretty okay for that location. But it was going nuts. You know, the people were going crazy. It was just like the first 10 minutes in the venue felt a bit weird, to be honest. Being without a mask, you know, being with so many people in one room felt a bit weird. But after 10 minutes, it was all forgotten, and the people went off, and the energy was so high that the people were drained, I guess, from energy from live shows. And
So did you guys have? When did you actually record the record?
We recorded it here in Germany, in West Germany, near our hometown, with our good friend Andy Potzig. He is the guitarist of a metal band here in Germany called Any Given Day. They are quite big nationwide, or in Europe, across Europe. Let's say they're drawing like something like 1,000 to 1,500 cabs in each city, which and for him, he has so much experience working with metal bands, producing his own band. So we're long-time friends, and this time we asked him out to produce this record because we needed someone who was really into the metal scene, who has knowledge of what he does in the metalcore alternative area, you know. And we really wanted to have a good friend on there too, because it was a style shift, you know, musically. So we didn't know really where to go in the first place, but he helped us out with his experience so much, and with his songwriting experience and stuff. He was really kicking our arse, to be honest, you know, or Nikos, because Nikos is still pretty young, and he has so much time to develop his voice, you know, our singer. And he was always a bit, let's say, too friendly. He was sounding too friendly on the last records, and we really wanted to push him this time to be more aggressive, to be more raspy and raw. And Annie was the right one to help him, because he was totally honest, brutally honest with our singer and during recordings, and saying like, no, you sound like shit today. And you know, you have to work on that again. You have to really get the energy out to you know, that it sounds true to the listener. And that's why we wanted to have him, because in the past we sometimes made the experience with other producers that they sometimes are too nice to the ideas of bands, you know. It's like too artsy. And with his vision, it was more more focused, more driven on what was essential for the music, you know.
Yeah.
In the past, we had a lot of electronic parts in our music too. There was so many electronic, like orchestra or synth stuff going on over the last albums. And this time we really, quit doing that because Andy told us, okay, look, we wanted to do a metal record. You have to stick to the elementary instruments in the scene, you know, and that is not electronic stuff that happens on good metal albums, you know. It's the guitar, the bass, drums, and good vocals, and that's it sometimes, you know. So yeah, that's why we choose Andy. Yeah,
it's good to have someone like that will help you really kind of like hone in your vision for what you want, to make sure that you're not distracting yourself with things that maybe don't really add to a record or whatever. I'm not saying that, you know, that the electronic elements to your previous records were misplaced or anything like that, but like if like you say, where you're trying to get back to making the best metal record that you guys can make, it sounds like he was the perfect choice to help you do that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's sometimes you need someone who's more open as a producer to new ideas, but this time I think it was good that we were a bit limited and that he was totally honest with bad ideas, you know, to speak about that and tell us, okay, look, this is a bad songwriting or a bad idea. To be totally honest, that we learned from that, you know, we took more from, and even if we didn't understand that in that second, you know, we were going home like thinking, okay, why is he saying that? Why is he giving us so bad credit on the song or on the songwriting, you know?
Yeah.
And after a day or after a night sleeping over it, it was clear what he meant. And it was, right now when we write new songs, we always have in the back of our minds, okay, what would Andy do? You know, it's like you write better songs because you have in mind, okay, what is necessary for a good riff or a good song, you know, and you're not focused on too much bullshit around, you know, electronics or other stuff, or, you know, it's what do you want to do with that music and nothing else. So
yeah, I mean, if you look at the response to like Overdrive and the other singles, I mean, it's pretty obvious people are happy that you guys are making the songs are coming out the way that they are, you know. It's been a pretty positive response so far as I can tell.
Yeah, and that's totally awesome. Yeah. It's we really appreciate that. We never thought about how many people will react to this and will respond to this on a positive note. We just wanted to do this album for ourselves, you know, just for the passion and just put it out there, having fun, just putting out music which we like to do and to listen to, of course, because we were thinking too much in the last years about, okay, how much is this going to affect our career, or how will the people like this or that, you know. It was, this time it was just, okay, just fuck it, we're doing what we want to, even if it's not reinventing metal or whatever. It's just, we want to do that riff, okay, then we do it, we put it out there. And it's crazy to see how positive people respond to this and can connect to the music. It's overwhelming sometimes.
How did it feel for you for this record, going from bass to guitar? I mean, was bass your first instrument, or?
No, it was a crazy story. I'm a native guitar player. I started pretty late in my, I was 19, I guess, when I got my first real guitar and a small amp, 18-ish, 19. Because I played soccer in my first life, I always say, like, soccer was my biggest passion, you know. I had no time for, doing music. But sometimes I felt like, okay, I need something else. And a good friend of mine introduced me to guitar and to guitar music back then. And it just blew my mind, you know. It was, I think, back then, 2007, Parkway Drive, first album, or the EP before that, Killswitch Engage, Caliban from Germany here, and other metalcore bands. And I wanted to do that, you know. It was just like, my vision was, okay, I just want to do I just want to do one show. I just want to have one concert where I'm standing on the stage, having a guitar and playing. That was just my vision back then, you know. Just wanted to do it once, to have the experience, how that feels. And after we formed our first band, it just happened that we did recordings, more live shows, you know, it grew. And with me going to bass or stepping down to the bass player position was a decision we made for the band back then, because our old bass player quit, and we were 5-piece before, and we didn't want to have someone in the band who was not committed as us to the band, you know.
Sure.
So we decided to go with a 4-piece. And back then we had 2 guitarists, of course, and I was the rhythm player, and I really said, okay, I just want to do that to play bass for the band, you know. It's just for this, how would you call it? For the sake of the band, you know, just to keep it alive and to have a good time with the boys. And it was nice to play another instrument. I never played bass before. I mean, every guitarist in the metal scene would say, okay, I can play bass too. You know, it's nothing different than playing guitar. Just strum harder and don't palm mute, you know?
Yeah.
But after a time I really enjoyed that. And it was cool to be a tight bass player, you know, or a good bass player, because, you know, when you're playing rhythm on the guitar, all the triggers and all the rhythms, keep your right hand really tight when you play. And it really helps you when playing bass. So I didn't know what to do on the bass. And switching back to the guitar now was really, it was hard, to be honest. It was...
Really? Why so?
It was I wasn't that fast again, you know. I lacked a bit of speed in my right hand and in the left hand, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was the muscle memory was lost from playing faster licks and riffs, you know. You don't play that on the bass, of course. In the metal, there are bass players who play fast licks and stuff, like Born of Osiris, or, you know, but we don't do that. Because we can't, you know. But it was hard to get back to that speed, you know, to that down picking, you know. I love down picking, but I really was frustrated how slow I became, to be honest, after playing bass for 3 years. But it was an opportunity for me to show to myself that I can do this, you know, that I can still be that fast, you know, to improve. And it was just a game for me to play fast again. And on top of that, now there are some even solos, or, you know, more tricky lead guitars on that album, especially that solo in Changes we put out some weeks ago. I never played lead guitar before, you know, and I was afraid of playing lead guitar because it is so obvious when you do a mistake, you know, when you play a wrong note live. It's I was fine and comfortable being rhythm guitar, you know, and but it's a step forward, and I'm really proud now to be fast again, you know. 200 BPM down picking is now it feels good.
Better you than me, man.
I think Patrick is a fighter for down picking. I met him on tour, Patrick Guitarsoft, for an Autopsy, and he really hates alternative picking. He's really sad when someone is alternative picking, and he's really like, come on, dude. He said one sentence. The guitarist who cannot down pick at tempo 160 BPM is not a metal guitarist. You know, I think that's pretty true.
I love it, man. There's like a generation of guitarists who like had Master of Puppets just like fucking injected into their bloodstream and refused to do anything that Hetfield wouldn't do. I mean, Hetfield is like 7 years old now, so he does like alternative picks sometimes, but he's got that fucking mechanical wrist, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have it. I wish I fucking had it, but I absolutely do not.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy too for the joints in your hand too. You know, when you're getting older, you get arthritis and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't be that fast, you know, when you're 60 and 70. Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, man, if I was 60 or 70 and I had arthritis, I'd rather say it was because I downpicked than say, well, you know, I sat at a keyboard for 30 years and it gave me pains in my wristies or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Can
tell me
feel
about,
that.
yeah. So tell me about, I looked at some of the videos that you guys had of recording some of the songs. It looked like you were using Kempers on the record. Was that just for some songs or was that the whole record?
No, not the whole record. We used for the main rhythm sounds. We used Neural DSP, the plugin. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was Nolly, Neural DSP plugin. Can name the preset, but I think it's based on a 5150 block ladder, you know.
Yeah.
And for the lead parts and for some of the clean parts, we use the Kemper profilers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very different ones from the AC30 for some cleans, and
Nice.
for leads, I guess there was a PRS Archeon profile. Yeah, and the main rhythm I think is a 5150, and yeah, we didn't even reamp because it. Right out of the box, we were very satisfied what Andy was doing with the mix.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can do rocket science about that, you know, doing a reamp with real amps, keeping it with the modeler, or doing with plugin. For this sound, it is very compressed. It is very, I don't know, is it stereo? You know, when
I know what you mean.
It's very clean, you know.
Yeah.
And we were really going for that sound because it should sound like that. I know that some people would say, okay, it's too, it's not dynamic enough, you know. It's too cut down to the raw sound, and but that was not the purpose for the sound. You know, we wanted to sound a bit more, let's say industrial, or like metallic, or futuristic. You know, so yeah, it was the way to go to go with a Neural DSP plugin for the rhythm, and with the Kemper, we worked with them like for I think 10 years now. I got my Kemper 10 years ago, and it still works. I still have the same one. And yeah, it's a fun fact that the company of Kemper is like 20 kilometers from here, which means like,
oh really?
Like, well, how much in miles? 30 miles from here. Yeah. They invented it in the next city, and we have a good connection with them. And I think it's a great device. And what we always do is, after a record is done, we try to profile the sounds. You know, when on the Soulmate we reamp with a Marshall cab and with a Marshall head, I guess, with some pedals and stuff, and we reamp that sound for the live situation. Mm-hmm. We did that for the rhythms, for cleans too, and yeah, that's pretty handy to get that sound and just have it in a lunchbox, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I think everyone will say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the consistency as well, like not just like being able to recreate your album tone live, but the fact that you can walk into any venue and get your sound instead of like you know, dealing with shitty power.
It has become
go ahead.
It has become the industry standard, you know. It's like every touring band I see here in Europe, even from the States or somewhere else, it's the backline is stacked with Kempers or XFX, you know. Now the Neural DSP thing is coming, what is called? You know what I mean?
Cortex.
The Quad Cortex, yeah. Heard it live once. A Belgian band had that on the festival we played there, and I think they have to work on the live tone, you know. It's a good thing for the studio, but I wasn't impressed by the Quad Cortex live back then. But yeah, you never see real amps
Yeah.
in live situations anymore, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if that is bad or good. I don't it's just the way it is, you know.
I mean, the thing for me is that, like, when you get into a live situation, there's so much going on. Like, in terms of sound, there's so much going on that for someone to go, well, you know, well, it doesn't, it sounds only 95% of like real amps. Like, fuck off. Who cares? You know what I mean? You've got like a bunch of big amps. You got the crowd going. You got the big drums. You got the EQ on the PA. You got so many different things going in that, like, I think as long as it sounds good at the end of the day, who cares? You know? I think the Quad Cortex is interesting though. I joined a bunch of Quad Cortex groups on Facebook, and it seems like a lot of people are saying it's really good. They should have waited like a year to release it, because it's like it's just at that like that early stage where, like, after a year of fine tuning it, it's going to be amazing. It seems to be what I hear from people, like what you're saying.
Yeah. It is a good unit, you know, and I think it's in the future, but for the live situation, they still have to refine some things from the sound wise. The problem with the Kemper is one really problem with every modeler, I guess. It's the FOMO, the fear of missing out of a good profile. It's the search for the holy grail of sound. Sometimes it really sucks. Like, I was stuck in that for many years now, that every time we had a new tour announced, or we worked on a pre-production for a new tour, I was searching for new profiles every time and tried to tweak it. Okay, maybe there's a better profile. And I really missed the time when I had the PV 5150 block letter, the Mesa oversized cap, you know, some pedals, like the Tube Screamer, the Ibanez Tube Screamer, and a noise gate, the typical metalcore setup, you name it. And I was done, you know. It like overall like 20 knobs on that setup, you know, like 20. And if they were tweaked, you're good to go, and you were fine for half a year at least. I was satisfied with my sound, you know. And then my friend was introducing maybe a new pedal like the Maxon BBE Sonic Storm to me, and he said like, oh, you have to check that out. And then I was tweaking again a bit, you know, but I was fine for half a year, you know. And now it's like you never know if you're satisfied or not.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I convinced my wife that I needed a Kemper was because, like, I buy a Kemper, I'm never gonna have to buy another amp. And I've had it now for 3 years. I'm like, I really want to buy some fucking amps. Like, I love my Kemper, but like, it's just that thing, you know. You always want the thing, you know.
Yeah, and now it's like the effect is now backwards, you know. It's a bit turned now. But when I use profiles from amps I never played in the real world, you know, like the PRS, when I play that, I'm like, okay, I need that amp. I need to try it out in real, you know, as a real amp. And right now I'm turning a bit towards the analog side of gear again. And through the Kemper, you know, just because you can check out so many different amps, and I think that's great. I think that's not a bad thing. Yeah. I'm hoping they'll come out with the Kemper 2. They've been kind of teasing it for a while now, that there'll be a new version of the Kemper. Because I mean, the Kemper is fantastic and it works really well, but it is also like, whatever it is, 10 years old. And like, you can't do blended profiles, and like the UI on the front of it obviously is fucking, it's a pain in the ass. So it would be cool if they brought out an update, but like, it's still a killer unit. But yeah, I'm with you. I definitely, I have like a space in my room where I would love to stick like a 4x12 and like some like 5150 or something in there, you know. So So tell me this: what's you guys' plans for the rest of 2022? So the album's going to be out in a couple of weeks. What do you guys have going on? So far we are still we're still trying to get some shows together for this year, because of course during the corona pandemic now it was hard to plan anything, you know. And we still try to set up some headline shows, some release shows here, which is not that easy because of course everyone is running into problems delaying tours and shows, you know, so it's hard to get venues here in Europe to do a proper headline show. But we're doing that. We're doing a lot of promo, I guess. We're doing some stuff on the internet, like playthroughs. We want to do some live sessions too with the new music, you know, and the new members. We always love that idea to do a live session and live recording. Not a live stream, but a real live recording, you know, and put it out. And we still have some new music to be recorded, you know. We try to be a bit faster this time to keep up with the next album cycle. We were always a bit lazy. You can see that in our album releases, that they have a bit of time between them. But this time we feel like we have already so much new material and so much good energy to go back to studio again this year and maybe have a fast follow-up. That's our plan. And of course, tour, play shows. But fingers crossed, Corona will be over.
Yeah, I think everyone's thinking that. Well, listen, thanks very much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you and to talk about our stuff, our music.
Yeah.